Hey, Tim Layton here. Welcome back to the next edition of the Darkroom Diary. And we're continuing on with some work on calotypes. And as I continue to refine this workflow, what you're looking at here is the iodizing bath with iodine in it for the Greenlaw calotype process. And the first step in the process, besides selecting the paper and working with a known good paper, I have to make an iodizing solution, which is potassium iodide and potassium bromide. And Greenlaw pointed this out in his workflow that was documented all the way back in like the Silver Sunbeam in 1873, that he added iodine, and that's all that is there. That's the additive. And the reason why you do that is you want to be able to visually see whenever you sensitize it with your silver nitrate and glacial acetic acid. And the next step after the iodized paper dries, it needs to convert to silver iodide, and it will the paper will actually go like a clear white underneath red safe light. It's really yellow, but it looks white to the eye underneath red safe light. So in a previous episode, I had shared a coating technique that I was experimenting with that worked out pretty well. And I've got some Canson Pro layout paper here. Let me get this out of the way. I'm trying not to touch the image area. There's the Pro layout marker paper. This comes in a 9x12 sheet, but I cut an inch off of it, makes it 9x11. And you're seeing these pencil marks here. That's the gutter marks. And this is what I'll be taping down to the glass coating surface. Tape this down so that the paper stays tight, and then I'll be laying down a bead of the sensitizing solution out here, and then push it through the paper, so on and so forth, right? So before we get there, so the paper has to be prepped like this, and then I'll be trimming this on these gutter marks after it's iodized. So what I'm going to do right now is put these into the iodizing solution. I'll just run the camera in so you can kind of see what happens on a couple of these. And you got to iodize them. Once you get the full stack in there, I'm going to do 5 papers here. So you just feed it in, make sure you don't have any bubbles, feed in the next sheet. And depending on the volume of liquid that you have in your iodizing solution will kind of determine how many sheets, but I still don't do more than 5 at a time, no matter what the volume would be. And then you turn the stack over after 3 minutes of being in the bath. After your last sheet is in, then you set a timer for 3 minutes, turn the stack over, and then go another 3 minutes, and then you pull them off one at a time, and then you hang them up here on your line, and you've got to wick the corners with just paper towel or whatever. So anyway, that's what we're going to do. All right, I'm grabbing a sheet of paper. I'm always very careful to grab the paper in these gutter areas. You never want to touch gloved hand or bare hand, absolutely not, ever any of the area on the paper because that can manifest into things. The other thing is, I didn't mention this, but I always use glass to do this when I can, or stainless steel. And all the dishes or the pans or trays, whatever you want to say, for this process is always cleaned with sodium carbonate and warm water, and then only with distilled water. And you've got to be really, really picky about keeping all this stuff clean. So anyway, we get the first sheet in, and it's just really about getting coverage over that. And what I'm looking for is any kind of air bubbles right now. And what's interesting is, and I'll show little clips of this, well, I'll just do a single sheet to kind of show you what it's like here right now. I just kind of keep the solution moving. I think that's a good idea to do that. And really, honestly, I don't really have a bunch of spare solution. This particular tray isn't, I normally am doing down to 8x10 and I get a little bit more room, but now that I'm going with the bigger to leave the gutters on, I don't have as much free space or whatever. But from a time standpoint, I would prefer to do multiple, you know, per time or whatever, right? So anyway, what actually happens on this Canson Pro Layout marker paper is I want to kind of share a couple things with you. Like, I can see this right now. You can't see this, but it almost looks like a peppering type of a thing. And the first time I saw that, I'm like, oh no, this is a train wreck. This is somehow reacting with the iodine. I don't know what's happening, because I didn't see that type of grain structure whenever it's without the iodine in the iodizing solution. So I can assure you with this Canson Pro Layout marker paper, that is normal, and that can really throw you off in the beginning if you don't know that's normal. And then what will happen is, after we get through this process here, it will, when we get through this and we hang this up here, the paper will be a light purple. And then over the course of the dry down, it actually turns into a light tan, so it dries down that. So that is some things that only happens when you add the iodine into the solution. So I just kind of wanted to mention those things. I think are very helpful, so that you don't kind of freak out and think that there's something wrong or whatever. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I've got another few minutes to go through this. I'm not going to just share this or whatever with this. I'll get through this, and then right before I'm ready to hang it up, I'll get a little wider view on the camera, and I'll cut back. All right, we're about 10 seconds away from being at the end of time. I'll let's see, 5 seconds. I gotta hit this timer off. It's gonna go off here in a second. Okay, that's done. And little bitty subtle things like that. When I reach and touch things with this gloved hand where I know I'm going to touch that paper, I'll use like my pinky or this finger to do that kind of stuff, because I never want to kind of use these main fingers that I would use in this process. So that's a little tip. The other thing is, one of the nice benefits of working with paper that's just a little larger than your finished size, which does require you to trim it post sensitization, so you do have to keep that in mind, is knowing that you've got a gutter all the way around the paper. And it really, if there is any contaminants, it'll be probably restrained into that area. So all we're going to do here is pick this up. And I'm not really sure what you can see, but if that looks purple to you, but it's definitely purple. And all I'm doing here is being very careful. As you can see, you've got to be really careful when you're handling this paper. This takes a little practice. And you do want it at that angle. And then you're going to see this is going to kind of roll. And I just allow that to sort of do that. And you can kind of let it roll like that. That's not a problem. And then take a little piece of clean paper towel, and you can attach that right here. And that will really kind of help. And we'll let this kind of run real time here on this first sheet. Now you've got to be really careful, because that's really thin paper, and that can absolutely tear that. And I've done that before. So you just want to let some of that runoff happen, and then I'm going to bring up this other side and pin it up here. I'll move this over a little bit, but we really want any of that runoff to go ahead and occur at this stage. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but that paper towel is absolutely getting saturated, and it's really nice that we've got that gutter area that will allow that to happen, right? And so and then I go ahead and do this, and then I still kind of wick it on the bottom even after I bring this second side up here. So I'll go ahead and do this one. I'm being very careful. I'm grabbing on the gutter area, being careful not to create any weird tension or tear this in any way, and just the right degree of tautness between those pieces is what's required, because you can kind of create like a buckling. You can go ahead and kind of move that off now. You can see that that's kind of saturated. And then what I do And I really like having that gutter area. It's like a freebie zone. I then take a paper towel like this. I just kind of run it along this, and you can see it's pulling a little bit off of there. I just do that a few times until I'm convinced there's no more coming off, and then I would go to the next sheet, and I just do that, like I say, in a cycle of 5. But anyway, let me you know what, I don't even need to reposition the camera. I'll just go ahead and end it here. Hopefully this gives you some insight, and then I'll come back. I'll wait for this to dry down, and I'll come back in the next segment and show you the paper. Actually, you know what, maybe I will grab the camera here and bring this thing in. So let me stop it, and then I'll grab it over and give you a little more close-up. But I'm looking at the screen on the camera right now, and it definitely looks purple to me on my screen. So that's good, but let me give you a close-up and see if I can show you those little weird pepper dots that I was telling you about. All right, here we go. You can see it kind of like related to the structure of the paper. It's not as obvious right now when it's in the tray going through there, but you can even see there's just a little bit of buckling that occurs here. That's okay, that'll all work out. You don't have to worry about that. But anyway, you can see that's very purple, and then I'll come back in like an hour or so, and you're gonna see this thing is basically looks tan or whatever. Anyway, I'll come back then and show you what it looks like. All right, here we are the next morning where the iodized paper is dried down, and you can see this dries down like a tan color versus the purple that you saw earlier. So I've got several sheets ready to go here. A couple tips. Number one, any of these papers are really susceptible to being contaminated at this point, so make absolutely sure you're wearing gloved hands. Only touch them on the border relief areas, never touch in the image area. That's a great way to get contamination and have all kinds of other problems. Make sure you have a bag. I do have like old black photo bags, like the kind you get for like you have silver gelatin paper or just photo bags in general. And then I take 2 pieces of blotting paper, and then I just stick them in between there, and they will last indefinitely in there. Well, I should say indefinitely as long as you have a humidity and temperature controlled environment. You wouldn't want to be leaving these out in a hot or cold car or something like that. So the other thing is, with this addition of the iodide, it allows you to see imperfections that you would not otherwise see. These look pretty good, but I wanted to show you. This is something I would have never caught. Look at this, right here, here, and here. Now, if I want to live with that, that's fine. I personally won't use that for production, but I do keep a separate batch wherever I'm testing or experimenting with things and I'm not sure about something, or I kind of use it as like a Polaroid sometimes if I want to think of it that way. Or like I say, if I'm testing some kind of new coating method or so those papers have a use. I just keep them separate from my production ones. That's a really nice side benefit of using the iodine solution in here, is that you get to see these imperfections. You would not otherwise, I would miss them all the time. So that's a great thing. So anyway, we're gonna wrap it up here. And then in the next episode, I'm going to take one of these pieces here. I'm gonna set up the coating table over here. And I'm gonna use my new coating method, where I'm going to be taking the glass rod right here, and I'm going to be taping the iodized paper to a sheet of glass and going through that workflow. And if you hadn't caught the other video where I did some testing to validate that works, make sure you can check that out in the playlist. But that'll wrap it up for now, and you can always catch me at timlaytonfineart.com. Make sure you subscribe here so you don't miss any of the updates, and I'll see you soon.